Hi guys. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the narcissistic cycle. Okay, and a narcissistic cycle is basically how a narcissist develops, how they get traumatized repeatedly, so that way they actually believe that there is no way to make a bond with somebody. They're so on guard and in a state of perpetual fight or flight and survival mode that they have um, just started going out and attacking everybody. Okay. Basically, it starts out with their primary caregivers. Okay. Any primary caregiver from birth to age 5 who was so either in their own state of perpetual fight or flight, they had probably been attacked numerous times. It's usually a generational thing, where their primary caregivers didn't show them how to form a bond properly, didn't show them how to love properly. It's usually a cycle, okay? So when people step into this cycle, okay, typically it starts out with a primary caregiver. Then they think they find love when they're young. Usually they're targeted by another person with high narcissistic behavioral patterns. And how they do that is that after they have had some form of trauma, they come in because you're easily manipulated at that point. You're easily lied to because you're not really paying attention. You are trying to heal from a traumatic event or something bad that happened to you, whatever it may be. You know, it could have been a death, it could have been a breakup, it could have been where you had already been targeted by someone narcissistic, and they come in and they gaslight you and try to alter your reality, which is considered psychological warfare, and they try to get you to take care of all of their stuff for them, you know, as much as they can. It'll happen in a process, little by little by little. You will become the person taking care of, let's say they have kids, let's say they have this, let's say they have that. And when they start to see you trying to break away, then they will a lot of times I've seen people either get pregnant on purpose or get someone pregnant on purpose in order to try to keep their supply in hand, you know, get sympathy, get this, get that, you know, whatever the case may be. So basically, it's a cycle of you were not shown how to form a bond properly as a child, and then you get targeted by a male or female, whoever it may be, because in my case it would be males because that's what I date. So when I reference things, it will be about that, but I am in no way suggesting that females do not do this, you know, because my own mother was the cause of my initial onset. You know, this is not a male female thing. Okay, anybody can be this way. So in romantic relationships, I experience it with men, but that doesn't mean that women don't do it to men as well. Okay, because like the last person I was with, he was targeted. He was targeted after a traumatic event. He was used to support and take care of, you know, and then he was love bombed and traumatized. Love bomb, traumatized, love bomb, traumatized. It's all the same type of pattern. But the biggest thing to being able to tell if a person is narcissistic or has high narcissistic behavioral tendencies is to calm yourself down, decompress a little bit, and start paying attention. Does their story have holes in it? Does it make sense? First and foremost, if there was only one, if they come up to you and they're like, oh, this person was so horrible to me, blah 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 blah, and they never talk about their actions with regards to it, then they're lying. Then they're very likely flipping the narrative, because when you're in a narcissistic relationship, what they try to do is get you to flip out. They love to get that reaction from you. Okay, so to say that you were never toxic and you were in a narcissistic relationship, you're lying. Okay, because they do things, they leave all the work on you, they stress you, they, you know, and they expect it of you, they feel entitled to that, you know, and it's because they were traumatized that same exact way at some point in their life, and rather than heal from it, because it's very difficult to do. You go through periods of an emotional roller coaster, highs and lows. Sometimes you're suicidal, sometimes you're, I mean, and you actually sit there and question yourself over and over and over again. Was it me? Because you displayed these toxic traits at different times. You displayed these traits that they tried to enact out of you, usually to distract you from what the actual problem is. They want you to be a problem, then they can say, oh, look, she's crazy, he's crazy, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So you start displaying very toxic traits in this relationship, whether it's you flipping out or just demoralizing yourself or making yourself you start having really bad thoughts about yourself. Sorry, I know there's a word for it and I can't think of it at the moment, but you start to have really bad thoughts about yourself because why would they treat you this way? They're confusing reality so much that you start to question reality. That's what they want to happen in the relationship. They want you to question realities to where every time they're sneaking around or doing things, then they can be like, oh, but you know, yeah, and no, that's not how a relationship works. If it's that toxic, if it's that to that point to where uh, uh, it's just you guys bringing up the same old traumas back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, then obviously neither one of you have, or one or both of you have not stepped it up to heal or removed yourself from the situation in order to heal yourself and understand what just happened to you. And it's psychological warfare. This is actually used in war, in battle. Okay, just saying, you know. So, and they watch you and they understand what's going to trigger you, what's going to, you know, to try to take the blame off of them, to try to deflect, to try to get you to forget about what they did, and if you forgive them for what they did, then basically, if they do it again, they expect you to forgive them again. And it's like that's not how it works. You forgiven because under the premise that you're going to change this behavior, not that you're going to continue doing it because you were forgiven. Okay, that's where they're not understanding because they're not being vulnerable. They're not actually creating a bond. They're trying to hurt you because they're so miserable within themselves. They don't know. They're looking for something. They're constantly looking for something. Better, 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 better. Because instead of working on themselves on the inside and making themselves the best version of themselves, you know, because that's what we all are supposed to be doing, they try to put things around them or dress it up a certain way to make it seem like they're trying to be the best version of themselves, or that they're the successful person, or they've got the hottest mate, the hottest, you know, spouse, whatever, you know, or that they, you know, they have a nice home, they have, you know, blah 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 blah, and they think that that makes them somehow a better person, and but then it's never enough. It never will be enough because what you got to do is look within yourself and understand that you have very unique qualities, you have very unique traits, you have very unique things to contribute to the world, and to quit focusing on what everybody else has or what everybody else can do or how they behave, and start focusing on how you behave, because that's how we make a change in this world, is by focusing on our behavior and cutting out anybody who and that can be very lonely. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially if you grew up in a narcissistic family and then were repeatedly attacked by narcissists because you thought that that was how love was. You know, like growing up, if you weren't given physical affection, or you were only given physical affection at certain points in time, because your parent basically was in this state of, they didn't know any better, you know, they're in this state of fight or flight, and physical affection is not your first priority when you're in that state. You know, I'm just gonna say, you're in basically battle mode. Your body is at that point in time. You know, you're hyped up for battle. Who's gonna attack me? And they're always thinking that you think like they do. You know, and it's like, no, I don't. You know, I'm not gonna go after you. I'm not gonna, you know, do all of these things just because you did it. And I'm gonna take the time to reflect upon my behavior and how I behaved in this situation, and heal myself from it, so that way I don't go and keep this cycle going. because the cycle is pretty rampant right now. People are constantly looking for love. And the more and more we step away from creating bonds with each other, the less and less love there's going to be on this planet. Okay, actual bonds. You have to, actions speak louder than words. So you can sit there and you can take care of your kids and you can do all these things for your kids, but if you're not hugging them and loving on them and showing them that you really care about them, then they're going to get the impression, and how do I know this? Oh, yeah, that's right. They're going to get the impression that the only way that they can get physical affection is by a romantic relationship. Okay? And that is not the way that it is supposed to be. It is supposed to be that we can, we're supposed to be able to go to our primary group of people and be able to get the love and support that we need from them instead of constantly chasing it from a romantic partner. So physical affection with your kids is very important because they actually, and how I know this is because it happened to me, think that the only way they can get that, your body is going to crave it. Atomically, your body's going to crave physical affection. It craves it. It will make you moody. It will, it'll do all sorts of different things. Okay, and we lean towards animals because they will constantly be devoted to you. They will constantly be loving to you. They will constantly be there by your side, and they actually create a bond. And that's what people need to do. Okay, and I'm not talking about just romantic relationships. I'm talking friendships and stuff. Quit going and talking about your friend behind their back. Quit betraying each other. And if you see something, be honest, and it's a hard thing because people don't like to look at themselves. Everybody's pretty well superficial and fake. Not everybody, but many people are. They're at this state of, when someone asks you, are you okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine, or they're constantly putting on a face. And I understand we have to do that in certain situations because we're trying to heal or we're trying to make money or we're trying to, but if there is nobody you can go to that you don't have to put that face on for, then it becomes a very lonely, a lonely place to live. And you're constantly going to be searching for, when can I relax? When can I decompress? More and more and more, better, better, better. That's how a narcissist thinks. More, better, better, better. I have everything here, but there's this one little thing, and rather than discussing it like an adult, I'm going to try to manipulate the situation to get the outcome that I want. And then you're going to bounce from relationship to relationship to relationship. You will never settle because someone's always going to see through your mask. They're always going to see through your fakeness. So do you like the stress of that? Do you like the constantly have to be on the look, have to be looking for another person, another source of supply, another, how about you try living for once? Living your life. Go out, have fun, do things, focus on that, focus on your family, focus on your, people instead of how it appears, make it that way. You know what I'm saying? There's a cycle though that goes down, and it typically starts with, from childhood, and then you'll be attacked by someone who has low self-esteem, someone who's looking to use you, someone who's looking to, whatever the case may be, and they usually try to get you after you've been through some sort of trauma, when you're trying to heal from that trauma, and then they can get people to go in the same cycle, because you get to this point where you're like, is there actually love in this world? Does anybody know how to love? Does anybody here know how to, especially if you grew up in certain areas, does anybody here actually know how to create a bond with each other to where this empty feeling that's inside of me, it starts getting filled up? And the empty feeling you need to fill up yourself, because you can't count on other people to do anything for you. You have no control over the way another person behaved. Okay? None. Were you perfect in that relationship? No. And I'm going to say that's everybody. No, you were not. So looking at it and evaluating it and understanding what you can change. And the only thing that you can change out of that is yourself. anything that you, any way you behaved that you may have felt ashamed about or you may have felt bad about. And a narcissistic person will internalize that, stuff it away, because they have the same feelings we do. Let's keep it above. Okay, everybody's like, oh, narcissists, they're these evil things. No, they just don't understand a lot of stuff. Okay, they don't understand it, and change is scary. Okay, change is very scary. If I were to look at you right now and say that the entire infrastructure of the world, every infrastructure in every country of the world, was based on a narcissistic model and it should be changed, what would you say? So that's how we understand it. I am in no way condoning people for acting this way. I just want to come to light how it happens. Maybe somebody with that knowledge are like, oh, whoa, you know, that did happen to me. I have been acting this way. And maybe I need to work on me a little bit more. And it's a difficult process to go through. You have to sit there and look at yourself, you know, and how you behaved, how you acted, who you hurt, what you did, you know, and also grieve for that kid that didn't get what he should have gotten or she should have gotten as a child, you know. Um, so it isn't a, and males, I'm just going to put it out there, you guys have it a lot harder. And I'm going to explain to you why you have it a lot harder. You have it a lot harder because the area of your brain biologically that you use to process your emotions, not that you don't have emotions, but the area where you use to process your emotions and view yourself and view what happened and view how they behaved and understand that you can't change that, da 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 da. That area of your brain is much smaller than that of a female's. And what that means is, and I'm talking biological male and females, what that means is it is easier for you to internalize it and just keep going on. What's another saying that people use? How to get over your ex is to get over another woman or another man, you know, over whatever the case may be, you know the saying anyhow. Yeah, don't do that. Because you're just causing yourself more guilt, more shame, you leave that and then later you're still you feel the need to do it again and again and again because you didn't process something that happened to you. Okay, you were traumatized. All right, and it's a process. You have to go through grief, you have to go through anger, you have to go through, you know, all of these different things. And there's times you're self-depreciating because of the way that, but it's important to be a certain amount self-depreciating. And here's how: because your ego, you don't want your ego to take over. You want to keep yourself in check. So I am in no way saying to sit there and get yourself depressed because you think you're such a piece of shit. I'm saying that you have to understand that you behave poorly in a situation, you know, and that you should, you want to change that about yourself. And what are the steps that you need to do to change that about yourself, you know? Many times what I find is that people are lacking in different vitamins because they're having these different chemical imbalances, and they're not taking vitamins, they're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, they're not eating healthy enough, or getting enough exercise, because when you exercise, it actually creates an electromagnetic current throughout your body. Your heart beating harder, boom, 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 creates this electromagnetic current which helps heal you. Just like having a cat lay on you. If you pulled a tendon or you pulled a muscle or you pulled something, having a cat lay on you and purr, they purr between, I believe it is 85 and 140 megahertz. And that actually heals tendons and muscles and things like that. Just little fun things that, you know, maybe you didn't know. But that's why if you're hurt or you're not feeling good or whatever, most of the times if you have a cuddly cat, they're going to come and try and lay on you, and then they're going to purr and purr because they instinctually know that you need that at that point in time. You know, we tend to not pay attention when our body's injured to, we just keep trying to push through it. To that, you know, there's different natural things in your environment that can heal you, you know, Epsom salt baths, things like that as well. But vitamins are an important thing, and if you take your vitamins and try to get yourself healthy and have a healthy amount of exercise. Try to let go of bad habits, and I'm in no way acting like you're going to do this all in one shot, because I am working on this process right now, you know. It's not, you know, I'm not sitting here, oh, I'm better than you, no, because these are things I've went through. These are traumas I'm still processing. These are things I'm still trying to do right now at this point in time. And the only thing that I can do is maybe help, even if it helps one of you figure out what you need in order to um, get healthy and have a happy, productive life. Then I did my job, So, but the cycle is vicious, and it starts with that primary caregiver from birth to age 5, because children learn the most from birth to age 5. I knew how to read, write in cursive, multiply, and divide by the time I was 4. My sister used to come home from school, my older sister, she was almost 5 years older than me, and she would, my middle sister, she would sit there and play school and write out, teaching all of these things, and I just kind of sat back and watched and absorbed. So, anyhow. Moving right along. So birth age 5 is a huge impact on how a child is developing. And also, if the mother was under an extreme amount of stress in the womb, because the child, the infant at that point, does not have anything to protect them but the mother. The child is missing like sight and different instincts, so other instincts heighten up, and this is a baby in the womb. And one of those instincts is that they understand that their mother is going through battle, even though it might just be high stress job, a high stress relationship, high stress whatever environment that they're in, and they tend to shut down because that's all they can do. And that's why there's a rise in different birth defects. There will be an increase in all of these things. It'll just be bam, 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 bam up the line. So if you have a particular hereditary predisposition for different things in your bloodline, and then you have a high stress pregnancy, that's how that happens, depending on how your vitamin intake is, how healthy you are, all of these different factors. It's a very complicated equation, but it can result in many different birth defects. So, moving right along, I'm just trying to help you guys to heal, so that way there's more of us that are healed, because I'm seeing, like in the areas I'm in, I'm seeing a lot of people who aren't. A lot of people who have no clue. A lot of people who are, they have different addictions because of trauma. They have different poor eating habits. Basically, you are self-destructive. There's a lot of people who are self-destructive because of it. They'll just continue these same cycles, because to sit down and decompress is very difficult, especially if you're in an environment that isn't conducive to healing. So basically what you have to do is get yourself to that environment that you need to, and then start working on all of these things that help you heal. After you've been through a narcissistic relationship, you are trauma bonded, number one. So this person who has traumatized you over and over and over and over and over again, you love this person, or that the version that they showed you. Okay, that person, and they have every potential to be that person. They just choose not to. They choose to fake it. Okay, so my suggestion for them would be to, hey, maybe not fake it. How about you just be that person? Don't be fake. And it could have started out as circumstances. Maybe somebody made a bunch of poor decisions, and then they found themselves in this cycle of trying to have a home, or trying to have this, or trying to have that. So instead of trying other avenues, they start using people, and basically it's always a vicious cycle, and every part of it starts out with some sort of trauma, and you can't take that trauma. You can take that trauma and go traumatize other people, but you're just going to hate yourself more and more and more and more the more that you do it. So you're just going to keep wanting to do it more. You're going to keep continuing this cycle, and you'll never be able to settle, because eventually the person is going to see through you, or the person is, eventually everything's going to fall apart. Or you're just going to work that person to death, because that can happen as well. Cause them so much stress and so much anxiety that they flip out. They start having medical conditions that they have a predisposition to, are going to relapse. They're not taking care of themselves because the relationship is stressing them so much. But just keep one thing in mind: the more you lie and the more you alter the truth and reality, the more you're going to become confused about reality. you know, I'd say it could be highly indicative of Alzheimer's or dementia, because you don't remember what actually happened. You have lied so much and altered details so much that you confuse yourself. What you've done to all these other people every drop of it comes back on you. Because you don't know at that point. Reality is easy to remember. What actually happened is easy to remember. When you get to a certain point of stress, though, and you're being abused and used, it's hard to remember even one little thing. I got to the point to where, I could remember dates, I could remember the time something happened from 20 years ago. And I got to the point to where I couldn't retain information for even 1 second. I would put it in my head, and then I'd turn, and it was gone. And that's how the cycle is, when you've been stressed to the point, when you've been to the point of being tortured, basically, is what I was, psychologically and emotionally tortured, for many, many years. So I learned a great deal about it. My memory's back, by the way. I can remember things quite well. You can heal from it. It's just, it's a process, and it depends on your circumstances, how quickly that happens, and then you personally, so I'm just here to try to give you information, try to give you knowledge, try to give you some sort of support, and that you're not alone. Many of us have lived through this. You can too. So, all right, you guys, I gotta get going. I got a bunch of stuff to do today. That's just a little talk that I wanted to have with you. I love you guys. Have a great day. Oh, not that. I gotta figure out how to shut this dang thing off.